What if I told you that in the next 7 days, your winter is about to completely transform? Right now, across 37 states, something remarkable is unfolding in our atmosphere. A weather pattern so dramatic, it happens only once every 5 to 7 years. The jet stream is preparing to shift, not gradually, not slowly, but in a way that will bring temperature swings of 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 72 hours. And here's what you need to know in the next 15 minutes. Because at the 3-minute 20-second mark, I'm revealing the exact date this transformation begins. But first, let me show you what's happening right at this very moment. As the good Lord designed our atmospheric systems to work in balance, we're witnessing something extraordinary. The northeastern United States has experienced 21 consecutive days below freezing. That's 3 full weeks. Some areas near Lake Ontario are buried under 6 feet of snow. 6 feet! That's taller than most adults. Meanwhile, in Louisiana and Texas, temperatures are climbing into the low 80s, 82 degrees in January. That's a 60-degree difference between neighboring regions. This temperature gradient, this incredible contrast, it's like watching creation itself demonstrate the awesome power that governs our skies. Now, here's your first reward for staying with me. Within the next 96 hours, this entire pattern flips, completely reverses. The cold air that's been locked over the Northeast, it's about to surrender. The warm ridge building from the Gulf, it's marching northward like an unstoppable force. Let me ask you something. When was the last time your 10-day forecast showed temperatures rising every single day? Not 1 day, not 2 days, but 7 days in a row. That's exactly what's about to happen across 42% of the continental United States. The European weather model, which costs over $200 million to operate, just updated overnight. And what it shows is stunning: a massive high-pressure ridge, extending from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to Greenland. This ridge will dominate the eastern 2/3 of North America. When I say dominate, I mean temperatures 15 to 25 degrees above normal. Think about this for a moment. God's design for our planet includes these cyclical patterns, the heating and cooling, the rhythm of seasons. And right now, we're entering a phase that meteorologists call a positive PNA pattern. That's Pacific North American pattern. What does that mean for you? Here's the breakdown, and stay with me because this gets fascinating. Cold air that's been pooling in Alaska all winter, that's about to get redirected. A trough, which is essentially a dip in the jet stream, is digging down across the western United States. This trough will bring the Pacific Northwest and California their heaviest rainfall since November. We're talking 4 to 7 inches of rain in Northern California within 48 hours. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is crucial. While the West gets soaked, the East gets warm. When the West goes cold, the East goes mild. It's like a giant atmospheric seesaw. The energy has to balance somewhere. That somewhere is right down the middle of our country. At exactly the 3-minute 20-second mark, as promised, here's the specific date you need to remember. January 10th. Friday, January 10th. That's when this pattern reaches its peak intensity. Mark your calendar, write it down. On that day, cities from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. will see temperatures in the mid-60s to low 70s. In January, but here's what most forecasters aren't telling you yet. Between now and January 10th, we have a small window, a narrow opportunity. Around January 7th or 8th, there's a disturbance, a ripple in the pattern. Model guidance shows a quick shot of cooler air trying to push through. This could bring a brief storm system to the mid-Atlantic states. Now, I'm not here to scare you. That's not my purpose. But I am here to prepare you, to give you the information you need, because knowledge, as Scripture reminds us, is power. Understanding what's coming allows us to make wise decisions, to prepare our homes, to check on our neighbors, especially our elderly brothers and sisters in faith. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because numbers don't lie. The temperature trend from January 5th to January 14th shows an increase of 38 degrees in cities like Charlotte, North Carolina. 38 degrees from a high of 34 degrees to a high of 72 degrees. That's almost a 40-degree swing in 9 days. Up in the Northeast, Boston will go from 18 degrees to 51 degrees. New York City climbs from 22 degrees to 58 degrees. Even Buffalo, buried under all that lake effect snow, will see temperatures jump from 19 degrees to 47 degrees. Here's something remarkable. The same high-pressure system bringing this warmth is also creating what we call an omega block. Picture the Greek letter omega. That's the shape this high pressure takes in the upper atmosphere. It's stable, it's strong, and it's going to park itself over the eastern United States for 5 to 7 days. What does this mean practically? It means if you've been putting off outdoor projects, waiting for a warm spell, this is your window. It means heating bills will drop significantly for about a week. It means those of us who love winter might feel a bit disappointed, but it also means we need to show gratitude for this respite, this break from the intense cold that's been gripping so many regions. Now, let me tell you about what's happening out west, because this is where things get really interesting. The Pacific jet stream is winding up like a coiled spring. Starting this weekend, a series of storm systems will pummel the West Coast. The first arrives Saturday, brings moderate rainfall. But the second system, arriving Monday, January 6th, that's the heavy hitter. Central and Northern California will see rainfall rates of 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch per hour. That's intense. The Sierra Nevada mountains could pick up 2 to 4 feet of snow above 7,000 feet elevation. Ski resorts are going to be absolutely thrilled. This is exactly what they've been praying for. Here's your next major revelation. And we're just past the 5-minute mark. Remember how I told you about that pattern flip? Here's the full picture. Between January 10th and January 17th, we enter what meteorologists call a pattern transition. The warm ridge that dominated the east begins to weaken. The trough in the west starts pushing eastward. This transition period, this is when things get unpredictable. It's like watching a carefully balanced scale start to tip. The atmosphere doesn't like being out of balance for too long. And when it corrects, when it shifts back toward equilibrium, that's when we see active weather, storm systems, potential winter weather for some, severe weather for others. The MJO, that's the Madden-Julian Oscillation, has been stuck in what forecasters call the circle of confusion. For weeks now, this tropical wave of energy that normally helps us predict long-range patterns, it's been weak, meandering. But there are signs, early signs, that it might amplify into Phase 8 or Phase 1 by mid-January. Why does that matter? Because Phase 8 and Phase 1 are historically cold phases. They favor Arctic air masses pushing south. They favor winter storm development. If, and this is a big if, the MJO can strengthen into these phases, then the second half of January could get very interesting for winter weather enthusiasts. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening today. Right now, across different regions, starting in the Northeast, Lake Ontario is producing one of the most persistent lake effect snowbands we've seen this season. The town of Fulton, New York, has received an additional 24 inches of snow in just the past 36 hours, 2 feet. Roads are impassable, schools are closed. But you know what? Communities are coming together, neighbors helping neighbors. That's the human spirit shining through. Down in the Southeast, we're seeing something completely different. Beneficial rainfall. The first significant rain in weeks. Cities like Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, they're going to pick up 1 to 1.5 inches of rain between now and Saturday morning. This is answered prayer for farmers, for reservoir levels, for drought conditions that have been concerning. But, and here's an important heads up, south of this rain shield, across southern Georgia and northern Florida, we have a marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow afternoon. That's Saturday, January 4th. The Storm Prediction Center has highlighted a 2% tornado risk. Now, 2% might sound small, but any tornado risk in January deserves our attention and respect. Virginia and parts of West Virginia might see something unusual tomorrow. A wintry mix. Maybe even some wet snow at higher elevations. Not a major event, but enough to make roads slick. So if you're traveling through the Appalachians tomorrow, exercise caution, drive carefully. Remember, it's not about speed, it's about arriving safely. Out in the plains, there's a winter weather advisory posted for eastern Nebraska and northwest Missouri, not for heavy snow, but for ice. Freezing rain. They're expecting up to 1/10 of an inch of ice accumulation tonight into early Saturday. That might not sound like much, but 1/10 of an inch of ice can make roads like glass. Dangerous conditions for the late evening commute. Here's what I find fascinating about God's creation. These weather patterns, they're not random. They follow principles. Laws of physics, thermodynamics, the Coriolis effect, the way warm air rises and cold air sinks. It's all part of an incredibly complex, beautifully designed system. And when we study it, when we try to understand it, we're really studying the fingerprints of the Creator. Now, let's look ahead. Past this warm spell, past the pattern transition. What happens in the third week of January? This is where forecast confidence drops. But here's what the ensemble models are suggesting. Multiple ensemble members, that means different computer simulations, are showing a trough returning to the eastern United States around January 15th to 18th. A trough means cooler air. Potential storm systems. If this verifies, if this actually happens, we could see our first significant winter weather opportunity in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. I'm not making promises. Weather forecasting beyond 10 days is more art than science. But the signals are there. The ingredients are starting to line up. Temperature gradients are crucial for storm development. You need warm air colliding with cold air. Right now, we have one of the sharpest temperature gradients I've seen this winter. From the 80s in South Texas to the teens in North Dakota, that's a 70 degrees spread across just 800 miles. When these air masses eventually clash, and they will clash, that's when energetic weather systems develop. The jet stream position is everything. Think of the jet stream as a river of air, flowing 5 to 6 miles above our heads. Storm systems ride along this river. Right now, that river is split. One branch goes north into Canada, another dives south into Mexico, but by mid-January, those branches might merge, creating one powerful, unified jet stream right across the heartland of America. Here's something most people don't realize. The Pacific Ocean is running slightly warmer than average right now, not quite El Niño conditions, but what we call neutral to warm neutral. This matters because Pacific water temperatures influence how storm systems develop as they approach the West Coast. Warmer waters mean more moisture. More moisture means heavier precipitation. Whether that falls as rain or snow depends entirely on temperature. Alaska has been stuck in a deep freeze all winter. Fairbanks has been below 0 Fahrenheit for 43 consecutive days, negative temperatures for 6 straight weeks. That cold air has to go somewhere eventually. It's like a dam holding back water. Eventually, that dam breaks. And when it does, when that Arctic air finally gets released southward, parts of the lower 48 states will feel it. But here's the beautiful part. We're prepared. We know it's coming. We can plan. We can get our homes ready. Check our heating systems. Stock up on supplies if needed. That's the gift of modern meteorology. The ability to see days, even weeks in advance, to make informed decisions, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Faith and preparation go hand in hand. Scripture tells us to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. That means using the tools and knowledge God has given us. Weather forecasting is one of those tools. It's not about living in fear. It's about living with wisdom. Let me share the forecast for this weekend specifically. Saturday brings rain to the southeast. Snow continues in the northeast lake effect belts. The west coast sees the first of several storm systems arrive. Sunday, the rain shield in the southeast expands northward, light snow possible in the central Appalachians. More heavy snow for the Sierra Nevada. By Monday, January 6th, temperatures start climbing noticeably across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, highs in the 50s. Then Tuesday, the 50s become 60s. Wednesday, some areas touch 70. It's a remarkable warm-up. Enjoy it while it lasts. Because weather, like all things in creation, is temporary. It changes. It evolves. The Climate Prediction Center, which looks at longer-range outlooks, is showing above normal temperatures for the eastern United States extending through January 14th. Then, their confidence drops. The outlook becomes more uncertain. That uncertainty is honest. It's refreshing, because trying to predict weather 3 weeks out is incredibly challenging. What we do know is this: winter is far from over. We're only in early January. Historically, the coldest weather in most of the United States occurs in late January and February, so this warm spell, think of it as intermission, a break in the action. But the main event, the heart of winter, that's still ahead. For those who love snow, who dream of winter storms, don't lose hope. Pattern flips work both ways. If we can flip from cold to warm this dramatically, we can flip back from warm to cold just as dramatically. The pieces are starting to position themselves on the chessboard. We just need patience, faith, trust in the process. Here's my final thought for you today. Weather connects us all. Whether you're in Florida or Montana, California or Maine, we're all under the same sky. We're all affected by these same large-scale patterns. And in a world that sometimes feels divided, weather reminds us of our common humanity, our shared dependence on forces much greater than ourselves. So as you go about your weekend, as these weather changes unfold, take a moment to appreciate it. Look up at the sky, feel the air, notice the wind. These aren't just meteorological data points. This is creation in motion. This is the atmosphere, doing exactly what it was designed to do, distributing heat, balancing energy, sustaining life on this beautiful planet we call home. Stay weather aware. Check your local forecasts. Look out for your neighbors, especially the elderly and those who might need extra help. And remember, no matter what the weather brings, we face it together, with preparation, with wisdom, and with faith that tomorrow brings new mercies, new opportunities, and yes, new weather patterns to explore. God bless you all, stay safe out there, and keep watching the skies.